So, this month in the Humble Mind community, we are going to be exploring the theme of connecting to communicate or communicating to connect. Now, the reason why we're looking at this and why this personally holds such a massive curiosity and interest for me is because there are two sides of the same coin. When we're communicating with someone, when we're making sense of information with somebody else, you can't really do that unless you're building a rapport of some kind. You're being attentive to who they are and what they're doing, whether it's virtual or in real life, and adding to the quality of the communication in that way. You have to connect with them. You've got to interact with someone in order to communicate with them. Otherwise, you're just giving them information. At the same time, we can't really connect without being able to communicate. We can't interact with someone, exchange a sense of authenticity with them, being able to build rapport, maybe even go some way to building trust with them if we can't communicate, if we can't tell them how we feel or what we need, ask them meaningful questions, and being able to listen, receive the communication going the other way as well. Through this experience, through thousands and thousands of years, it really is hard coded into our genetics, really, our ability to communicate with others, to understand, to read body language and signals, to interpret tone, to hear where the voice is going, to see what the hands and the face are doing. This is all part of our ability to communicate and our ability to do it very, very well to a high degree of precision and effectiveness. The real kind of ability here and our ability to do it in a meaningful way depends on us to being able to showcase these skills and practice them, not just when the going is good, but when the going gets tough, right? There's a couple things that are worth thinking about, and I want to share with you sort of 5 principles when it comes to looking at communicating to connect in a meaningful way. Like always, it benefits from practice, but really, if you are running a people-focused business, if your business, if your service, your product is people, your stock and trade is people, perhaps you're a coach, a mentor, a creator, perhaps you're a startup advisor, maybe you're a recruitment consultant or a coach of some kind, a manager of teams, you work with people, you work in people, right? That's what you do. And so your kind of pilgrimage to these two concepts should really be as regular as possible, to being able to really unpack and understand the forces that power good, effective communication and the forces that power good, effective connection, being able to build rapport, build a sense of trust, being able to influence action, positively influence behavior through interaction with people. So there's a couple things here that you can kind of take away and think about when it comes to how to make these sorts of things show up in front of clients in difficult situations, practices on an everyday basis. Number one is you've got to make no assumptions. Another way to think about this is to get curious and not furious. For example, if a client says to you, "Where the hell are my results?" Immediately there's a tone that's off. There's something there that is accusatory. It's accusing you of a problem, perhaps that you did or did not commit. It's just going to ruin and limit the interaction, diminish it in such a way that's going to really frustrate how clear and positive the communication can be, but also, what the damage will be on the connection, the association, the relationship between you and the client. Rather, if they came in with something more grounded in empathy, something perhaps to the effect of, "Help me to understand what's happened so that I can make better decisions." Immediately the tone is better. Immediately we can pick up that there's a willingness to proceed in a way that invites collaboration, that invites feedback and investigation in a good way. It's chalk and cheese, right? And so the motto there is getting curious and not furious, allowing your curiosity to pursue a solution to be something that is bigger than what you might feel in the moment and how that might ruin the interaction completely through how you communicate. So making no assumptions allows the art of the possible to rise to the surface. It also means that we'll be finding common ground more easily. And when we found common ground, we're going to be finding solutions more easily. Number 2, ask questions instead of making statements. Questions are so unbelievably powerful because they open up new knowledge, new areas of insight and information that perhaps would have otherwise remained closed. and limited from sight. When we ask questions, we allow the other person to volunteer their best self, the essence of who they are, and they can come to you with a sense of creativity, with a sense of curiosity, with allowing them to rise to the occasion. When we make a statement, or when we make an accusation, or when we allow the communication to be one way, essentially, then there really is a limitation on how rich this can become, how deep a relationship can go, and how close you can get to a solution, especially when the times are tough, when there's a deadline looming, when a lot of money's at stake, whatever the case may be. Asking questions allows you to once again start from a point of making no assumptions and invites collaboration. It invites an answer. It invites a response. It invites a conversation to start with someone else or perhaps a group of people. And that's a great way to always kick off a collaboration or kick off an interaction with someone simply by asking questions, right? It goes the same for in the dating world. What happens when you're meeting someone for the first time? Just ask questions. Ask questions, and you will be shown the way of where to go next. Number 3, what is your body doing? You've got to be able to read the cues and understand the different parts of your body and how that influences the impression that you're making on somebody else, because the impression is always going to be something that sticks. So think about the different parts of your body that are making an entrance in the room. What is your breath doing? Is it all up here in your throat, or is it relaxed and down in your stomach? And by implication, is it controlling and calming down the way you speak, how you come across, how you're asking questions? What is your tone like? Can you deliver things in a neutral, natural way? Can you get rid of unintended tone that makes it sound like you really are meaning something else when you don't mean that? And that's always going to get in your way unless you understand and are attentive to your tone. What's your voice doing? What are your hands doing? These kinds of things are going to allow you to become so much more of an effective communicator when you're curious about what your body is doing, because your body is the vehicle through which you do everything else, right? So pay attention to what the body's doing. Number 4, have a long-term view in mind. This is a big one, but when we are able to start with the end in mind as much as possible, not only is it a lot easier to reverse engineer all of the steps that are necessary to get to that outcome, but we also invite a sense of systems thinking. We also think in terms of logical steps and systems that allow us to sustainably get to where we need to go without undue cost of time or money or stress or emotions, right? We're able to see what the outcome should be, visualize it clearly, communicate that vision as well, very important, and then work backwards collaboratively to then see how we can all pull energies together. When it comes to communication, a good friend of mine, Rich Mulholland, has an amazing way of thinking about this, especially if you're on stage or you're doing some public speaking, perhaps you're speaking to a team. And the essence of your storytelling needs to be tell them what they need to know, tell them what they need to feel, and what they should do about it, and what they should remember about it. If you're able to do that and capture that within the vision of where you want things to go, you're going to not only become a far better and more effective communicator, but the interactions you have with people are going to have a certain sense of direction and an openness to inviting them to collaborate on this journey with you. So that's an important one. And number 5 is keep it simple. There really is a almost Zen-like beauty to the art of simplicity and clarity. And this is something I talk about quite a lot with my clients and just in general, because I'm just so interested in how much can you minimalize or reduce something to the point where, all unintended ambiguity and additional fluff is completely removed to the point of, austere beauty. Something that is captured directly and clearly and succinctly. Maybe it's words, maybe it's in a picture, perhaps it's in a song. It doesn't really matter what it is, but the point is that it's exposed for what it is. There's no dishonesty about it. There's nothing that is unnecessary about it. If you keep things simple, you keep it relevant. When you keep it relevant, it stays clear and it stays memorable. That's always, always, always the key. And in any kind of simplicity or simplification of a message, of an interaction, of a business plan, of a discussion you have, whatever the case may be, of any simplicity required there, there's inevitably a reduction required. You've got to reduce. Simplicity is about less, not more. And that's why less becomes more, right? Because it allows space to be able to expand into, so that once that message is heard, once that piece of information is relayed, it not only is understood immediately and requires less effort, less stress, less cost, less time to understand it, as though you might have given it to me with a whole lot more frill. But now I can go away and do something with it, and I can add value to it because I understand it so well, because it was so simply presented, because it's been reduced down to what it is, what that thing is in and of its nature, of itself. So to do that and to be an extraordinarily effective communicator, it's about simplicity. Keep things down to what they clearly need to be and what they mean. So I hope this was a useful and a fun little exercise in diving into what communication is, what people connection is, building relationships, and being able to kind of put those two things together, because really they do belong together. Once again, if you're running a people-centered business, these are your bread and butter. These are your daily Bible when it comes to being able to make sense of interactions and make sense of information, but also to be able to build the relationships that build businesses, that build prosperity and wealth and the things that we want to see in our lives. If you can't communicate, you're not able to connect properly, and vice versa as well. So thanks, and I'll see you in the community.